Welcome back. This section is on escaping the prison of your mind. I love this graphic here. It simply states we're all trapped in our minds. The question is whether or not we realize it. In realizing it, we begin to free ourselves. Here's a great philosophy, and this will help you escape from your own prison. Inside your mind, you're the prisoner, the jailer, and the hero all rolled into one. So, who's imprisoned in your mind? You. Who's keeping you trapped there? You. And who's the only person that can free you? The hero? You. You have to stop blocking you from getting outside of you or your ego. You have to literally just let yourself go. It's almost like when you have muscular tension. You hurt you, and the solution is for you to stop hurting you, which means let go of the tension. You're causing it. People try other things to solve something that's actually a problem with themselves. When you have muscular tension, you don't have muscular tension because you have muscular tension. Muscular tension doesn't exist. It exists when the mind is frustrated. It's called body armoring. You begin tensing up and hardening your muscles until they become like iron. Okay? That's what muscular tension is. So what do people do? They don't do the simple solution of sitting down and saying, okay, what's going on in my life that's stressing me, and how am I creating muscular tension within myself, and how can I let it go? So what do? They start looking for external sources, and given the fact that the problem isn't external, you don't randomly have tense muscles, they start saying, well, what can I do that's outside of me so I don't have to look at me? That'll solve it. Well, I'll drink myself into oblivion until the muscle gives up. I'll take benzos, and I'll take sleeping pills, and I'll go for massages, and I'll get a massage chair, and I'll pound on the muscle until it gives up and releases the tension. I'll use a special roller ball, and I'll put a cream and a rub on it, and all this type of stuff. All that stuff gives you temporary relief. And almost like the trap of the mind, if you believe that stuff works, and it does work a little bit temporarily, you'll begin to count on that more and more. And the less you count on yourself and the more you count on these external things, the more you have to use them. And the more your mind knows that you're not going to solve your own mental problem, the worse it makes it and the worse the tension gets. So you take more alcohol and more drugs and more massages and put more creams on, and pretty soon, no matter how much you put on, it still hurts like hell. And you didn't realize the trap. You were trapped in your own mind. Your mind was causing the tension. Your mind can realize what the problem is, and your mind can let you back out. Now, the single most vital step on your path to enlightenment is this: learn to disidentify with the mind. Don't believe what it's telling you. There's this small, sick part of my mind, the ego, and I no longer listen to it. I teach addicts this all the time. It's called externalization. You take your addiction, which speaks in your own voice and says, hey, glass of scotch would go great with that newspaper. Your neck's a little tight. Have a drink or take a drug. You're a little tired. You can, why don't you do a line of Coke? It'll perk you right back up. A little bit won't hurt. And if you think that thinking is actually you, you'll listen to it. But if you understand that there's sub-portions of your mind, and that your addiction is one sub-portion, just like the negative inner critic, just like the ego, you can say, no, that's just my addiction talking to me. You make it something outside of you, a portion of your mind that you don't listen to. That's what I want you to do with the ego. And say, no, my addiction wants me to drink whiskey while I read the newspaper. It wants me to perk myself up by taking a little cocaine. It tells me lies like a little bit won't hurt you. That's an old cliche. Matter of fact, anytime I hear this again, I'm too damn smart for that. I don't fall for that rubbish. I know that's my addiction, my stupid addiction, hoping that it can fool me into thinking I am actually saying this. No, I am not. I am wiser than that. So any thinking that's related to using in any way, shape, or form has to be my negative self, which is my addiction. When you hear negativity in your mind, you're not a negative person inherently. You're a positive person. The one thing you're positive about is you. I can explain why anybody else would attack you, but you attacking you, that's an unnatural act, just like beating yourself in the head with a hammer. If you had a convincing voice in your head that was telling you to beat yourself over the head with a hammer, that voice would obviously be your enemy. Your ego is like that. Anything that is working against you, that is making you feel bad, that is negative, that's keeping you in the problem and away from the solution, that's your negative ego. Disidentify with it, and it loses its power. And you will know when you need to attack it instead of it attacking you. You can beat it down with simple logic. Now, 2 questions. 1, who put the blindfold on you? And 2, why did you keep it on? We've been going through life literally blindfolded. I love this analogy. We couldn't see these things. Nobody had taught us what I'm teaching you. And that's what puts the blindfold on us. We didn't know that we were trapped. We didn't know there was a secondary part of our mind. We didn't know about the inner critic. We didn't know about the imprint period. We didn't know about any of these pieces that you've just learned in the last hour or so. So, now the question is no longer who put the blindfold on you, but why you would keep it on. So anytime you go back to your old behaviors, when you start thinking mindlessly, I want you to think of that like you putting your blindfold back on. That you're going back to your old self, that your ego is taken over, is back behind the wheel, because it wants to keep you blind. It hates all the things that I'm saying to you. It knows that you can defeat it and that you can have freedom in your life. And it wants you to go back and just be its slave again. It's going to put you right back in that jail cell if you let it. Don't let it, observe it, beat it back. In the next section, we're going to teach you some very specific techniques for how to do that. Some wonderful techniques I know you'll absolutely love. So I'll see you in the next section.